Lights. Camera.
Set.
Action.
Alf Morris is a pioneer. You know, when you mention Alf Morris, to those people who know of his work, he has had a huge impact in disability rights. And the support that we get to this day as disabled people, it's because of Alf Morris and the laws that he brought in.
Alf's taught me that it is right to be independent and you can choose your life, but the world puts so many barriers in the way, and I think Alf was such a champion of the social model of disability before I even knew there was such a thing.
I think without Alf's Act, the disability community would definitely not have the rights that it has today, would not have the voice it has today, would just be still classed as vulnerable. And disabled people are not vulnerable. Disabled people are just people like everybody else.
So lucky that I've grown up in a world where I can live an independent life because of these acts.
We would still be, I think, probably, in the time that Alf was living, which was when disabled people were hidden away in their homes, that they weren't part of society at all, that they had no rights to education or to services or to even going inside a shop. That would have been the kind of time we could have still be seeing right now if it wasn't for Alf and the immense work he did.
Well, I think it wouldn't have changed because he was the first.
It's all right, go on. Take a minute.
And without him, I'm not sure what would have happened. We'd probably still be back then where kids that had disabilities didn't have people who was understanding. So I think that we would be a bit, well, in a bit of a knot about it because we wouldn't be treated the same.
What we've seen through the last few decades and successive governments is that social care is just not being adequately funded. And add on top of that welfare reform and austerity and now COVID, and there's a very real risk that we're hurtling backwards in terms of all of those things that Alf's Act put in place.
Financial support has been become more conditional, harder for them to access and meaner. We can see that their rights in the workplace are actually not real when you look at who is first in line for redundancies or unfair treatment at work. And we can see a really concerning rise in disability hate crime, stigma and attacks.
There's a phrase that everybody uses called, which is reasonable adjustments, and clearly very important. But quite a number, a disappointingly high number of employers use that phrase as a catch-all. We have made reasonable adjustments. But actually, that's not enough these days. You have to probably, if you are going to be truly inclusive and truly embed the skills and talents of disabled people within your organisation, you have to redesign your organisation. And you have to fundamentally change your philosophies and your cultures. You can easily make a reasonable adjustment by getting a screen that reads stuff to you, or a bigger keyboard, for example. They're the easy solutions. What's more difficult is changing the people perception in the workplace, and that's a cultural shift.
We still have a way to go on our work with making outdoor places more accessible for disabled people.
Alf's law put into place what children with autism need, but there's still more to be done.
50 years at least since that act, we have fought to have enshrined in law just to try and live a simple life, a little bit like our neighbours, and I get to do that now. So the thought of it being taken away is terrifying. It's also likely to start putting people back in institutions which we have been fighting for more than 50 years, and we really want to see an end to segregation in every single form, in education, in living, in all the aspects.
We're not equal, we've still got fights to fight, but reading these and talking about Alf's Act show me how far we've come. We've got a long way to go.
So if I was Alf standing here in front of you now, what would you say to me?
Keep fighting.
Thank you. Thank you for changing the world for the better. Without you, without Alf, I wouldn't have had the possibilities in life that I had.
Why did it have to be you? Why had nobody else done it before you? It was 1970, you know, not 1670. But, yeah, determined, well done.
I am so thankful that I've grown up in a world where these acts were just common sense.
It's quite unusual these days, particularly with our plastic politicians, where it's all about sound bites, nothing really comes from the heart. And you know, reading Alf's speeches, listening to him, looking back at the archive, what an incredible character this man was and how close he was to the people whose lives he helped transform.
My lords, much the best way of marking the 40th anniversary is to recognise that we still have much more to do to turn humane precept into practice and to make it our bounden duty to meet that challenge.